Calling to order the Governance and Priorities Committee meeting of Tuesday, April 7th, Town of Peace River Council, 5:00 p.m. Number 2, adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions?
I have none.
Thank you. Does someone want to adopt that agenda with Councillor Ravalola? Thank you very much. All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on, number 3, adoption of the minutes. The minutes of the March 2nd, 2026 Governance and Priorities meeting. Have we had a chance to go over those? If anybody seen any alterations or corrections? If none, would someone be interested in, thank you, Councillor Forsyth has that motion on the table. All those in favor? And that is carried. Now we'll move to the delegation presentations. First up is the Rural Development Network Enabling Housing Choice North Project with Sean Adams, Community Planner, and Alice Wickert, the Project Manager. Welcome.
Hi there. Nice to see you folks. I am just waiting on my colleague, I believe, to join me, and then
Can't hear him at all.
hello.
Hey John, we're just having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
Is she physically on it?
Yeah, maybe up there.
Or a manual?
We're just gonna turn up our speaker and see if that helps.
Can we try?
Sean, do you wanna say hello again?
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Like,
We can
Fair
barely. We can
Still
hear
a
you.
little quiet.
Did it change it? I felt like it didn't change it much. Not a lot.
I can keep, I'm getting good input levels from my microphone, so. Is that any better? Alice, are you able to hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
He's playing. He's playing. He messed up.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think they're
we-
just having issues with getting our voices out into the room there.
Was that yellow? Yeah. That's pretty good.
In the meantime, Alice, I think you can likely get the presentation onto the screen.
Are we getting ready to go right now?
That I'm unsure of.
Maybe
Just
we
for-
can, maybe I can put it like this and, yeah. You have to put it close, like really close, cause these are. Just really your chair over for me. Put a chair.
You actually wanna do that?
Might have to stand.
You
there
might
with the
squeal.
chair. Yeah, I might squeal. I don't
Wanna
know.
try?
I don't know why I'm public, cause I'm.
Try saying something now.
Hello? Can you hear us okay?
I don't think that changes it.
Well, I might have my volume right now. Check.
How to clear it up? Just crank it.
The back, same.
All right, now.
Hello, hello? Is that working at all?
Can you hear me at all?
We'll just listen.
We'll just listen closely, yeah.
It can be.
Does it help if I shout?
That's better. Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I'll all right, Alice, I think we're both gonna have to just talk loudly.
Okay.
So we'll get going whenever you guys give us the go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, no, perfect. All right, thank you. Well, yes, welcome. please feel free to interject if you can't hear what I'm saying. But yes, my name is Sean. I'm a community planner with the Enabling Housing Choice North project. And with me today, I also have my colleague Alice Wickard, and she is the project manager for the Enabling Housing Choice North project, which is also part of the Rural Development Network's Sustainable Housing Initiative. So thank you again so much for having us here to speak about this project, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have for the end of the presentation. But for today's presentation, I do want to provide a bit of quick context on who we are, what the Enabling Housing Choice North project is, and the goals of our work. And then I'll be going over some of the key findings with Alice about current housing issues and opportunities in Peace River, and how our recommendations aim to help address some of these issues and outline next steps for moving forward with this information. And so hopefully you've had a chance to maybe look at the What We Heard report that we produced back in 2025, as well as our most recent final report called Enabling Diverse Housing Development in Peace River. So I'll be referring to these reports throughout the presentation, and if you haven't yet had a chance to read them, you can use this presentation to essentially bookmark where to go to see what we're talking about. But first off, I do want to briefly share a bit about who we are at Rural Development Network. We support rural sustainability by listening to and partnering with communities such as yours to fill gaps in services, identify issues, and also find effective solutions for rural, remote, and Indigenous communities. Our Sustainable Housing Initiative, also called SHI, was created to help rural, remote, and Indigenous communities create and develop more affordable and sustainable housing. Now, that's kind of a high-level overview of our organization, and Alice and I will provide links to our website at the end of the presentation. But now I do want to talk about the Enabling Housing Choice North project, and that's where the town of Peace River fits in, because this is more of a specialized project under our SHI umbrella. So, first and foremost, the Enabling Housing Choice North project comes at no cost to the municipality. It's been funded entirely by the Alberta Real Estate Foundation. And our goal with this project was to examine and understand various housing barriers, challenges, and opportunities that relate to housing in rural communities like yours. And then from these findings, we worked with your administrative staff to develop more locally relevant solutions to enable diverse housing development in the town. So our hope is that the information from this report will encourage conversations amongst you and administration, as well as residents, about what's important for Peace River, what from the recommendations report might work or might not work, and what is ultimately worth pursuing to encourage more housing diversity in the town. But moving on, through our research and our community engagement over the last year or so, we found there was 5 major areas of housing need that were brought up repeatedly, and these again are discussed more in detail in the What We Heard in Recommendations reports. But the first thing that we heard is there was repeated responses from engagement participants that more rental options are needed, both for newcomers as well as more longer-term residents in search of flexible living arrangements. The second was that we heard there was a strong demand for more small and medium-sized single-family detached homes. These were noted to be easier to maintain and more affordable, and are needed by younger families as well as those on limited budgets. The third was seniors housing. We heard there's a strong need for more diverse housing options for seniors, ranging from assisted living to small independent living spaces. And participants suggested that these could include one-level row houses or even condominiums with small yards. And the last form of housing that we heard was most needed was for a mix of attached housing types, such as townhouses, row houses, condos, and apartments. And this is likely driven by the need for more affordable and lower maintenance options compared to single family detached homes. And now I do want to move forward and discuss more of the why are we doing this project and why did we do this with the town of Peace River and why is housing diversity important, not just in Peace River, but really throughout rural Alberta. Now, the main point that I do want to emphasize here is that when you have a greater variety of housing choices, this can help better meet the housing needs of increasingly diverse residents and household types, both for existing residents and newcomers. And so the slide that you see here really shows some of the positive impacts that could result when you increase housing choice and diversity in your community, because it helps support a broader range of residents with a variety of income levels, backgrounds, cultures, and lifestyles. And that broader social diversity that makes up your town can help support a wider variety of businesses and strengthen the economic development of Peace River, because businesses need workers and workers need housing. And so when you have diverse housing options, this can help contribute to having a stable workforce and a stable community. But really, the bottom line when it comes to housing diversity is that it will increase a community's ability to attract and retain newcomers and existing residents. Now, because we have a short bit of time here, I do want to move quickly into what did we recommend in our recommendations report? What are some of the solutions that we explored based on what we heard? And what did we explore with administrative staff at the town of Peace River? And so the first set of suggestions that we explored in the report that we believe will help maybe assist housing development in Peace River is to explore how things such as policy incentives can attract and encourage more diverse housing development and attract more investment in general. So we did create a few different policy recommendations that are outlined for your consideration in the report, but today I'm going to focus primarily on one that we recommended, which is to create a general residential development incentive. Now, the purpose of this sort of policy is really to encourage new housing construction and attract housing investment across all housing types in your community. Now, one of the benefits of having such an incentive is that it can help, of course, increase housing supply and can also help target having that specific goal of increasing housing affordability. Now, I don't have a lot of time to get into the details of all the benefits and considerations around what a general residential development incentive could look like, but you can find more information on pages 11 and 12 of the recommendations report. But I will bring your attention to a few different municipal examples across Alberta that we draw inspiration from, so that you can kind of compare and see what other communities are doing. The first would be the town of Ponoka's residential new build incentive, where they've introduced a phased property tax reduction for new residential construction in their communities. The second would be the town of West Locks. They have a residential development incentive program that provides grants for new housing, also a one-time property tax cancellation, and they also offer pre-approved construction plans. And as mentioned, there's more detailed descriptions of these examples in the recommendations report document, and also many more examples of different policies that communities have enacted across Alberta to encourage more housing development. Most recently, in Brooks, Alberta, they've been in the news recently because they've attributed their recent housing boom to several of the new policy incentives that they've brought in over the past couple of years. So we encourage you to go take a look at what Brooks, Alberta has done on that front. But I will pass it off to Alice, who's going to explore a little bit about what we recommended in terms of land use bylaw updates and amendments. So take it away, Alice.
Thanks, Sean. So I'm hoping people can hear me. I'm going to try to speak loudly. And again, if you can't hear me, maybe just interrupt or jump in and say, but I will do my best here. So the policy incentives that Sean had just described, one of them is one of the approaches that we recommended to address some of the housing challenges in Peace River. The other main approach was to make adjustments to the Peace River land use bylaw. Now we know that Peace River has only very recently updated its land use bylaw. So the suggestions for updates and amendments are meant to be considerations for potential future adjustments or additions to the bylaw. And that's something that we've mentioned to staff. So the suggestions fall into residential and commercial districts, primarily residential, and within the categories shown here. So residential options, RTMs and moved in dwellings, residential condos, apartment hotels, and industrial camps. Our intention with these suggestions was to address three main issue areas. One is to increase housing options and diversity in some or most of the residential districts. And we feel that more options will address the housing needs of more residents, which can also lead to more affordable housing. And the third thing is to help with what people indicated in our research, what they saw as red tape in the development process. So the thinking here is to make it easier for people to get information and then also move through the approval process more quickly. So I'm gonna just focus on one of these suggestions here, and that is the single detached line as an existing permitted use. We do have more detail about all of this information again in the recommendations report. And so right now I'm just going to go through some high level thoughts about future considerations. So the main suggestion that we have in the recommendations report is where a single detached home is a permitted use, we suggest adding modulars, RTMs, and moved in dwellings. So you'll notice the modular has an asterisk next to it in the table, and I'll get to that in a minute. So RTMs and modulars, a simple definition of them is that they're homes that are built in a factory setting and then moved onto the site, either as one unit or in several pieces, and typically, but not always, onto a basement. A moved-in dwelling is one that existed somewhere else and is being moved to a new location, typically again on a pre-constructed basement. So why should these types of housing be added as permitted uses in residential districts? In short, this is what we consider low-hanging fruit, something that's fairly quick and easy to accomplish, and that could make a difference for housing in Peace River. Now, the asterisk for modular homes is here because I want to emphasize just how progressive and forward-thinking your planning people and department is. Modular homes in the land use bylaw now are included in the definition of a single detached dwelling, which makes it also a permitted use. So the definition goes that a single detached dwelling shall include dwellings built on site as well as modular dwellings. And then there are definitions and regulations in other parts of the land use bylaw for modulars. And I just want to emphasize how fantastic this is. I haven't seen this in any other land use bylaw that I've reviewed in the research that we've done. And what it will do is allow quicker and easier approvals for these types of homes. Now, all three of these types of single family detached homes, that is RTM, moved in, and modular dwellings, must meet National Building Code regulations. And once they're done, they look like the stick-built home or the built-on-site home. So therefore, we suggest adding RTMs and moved-in homes as permitted uses in residential districts, wherever a stick-built, excuse me, a single family detached home is also included as a permitted use. So doing so will speed up the approval process, enabling housing to be built faster and also allowing for more predictable development. Sorry, I got a tickle in my throat. So for other items on the table and the previous slide, so that is accessory dwelling units, apartment hotels, residential condominiums. I'm going to leave these recommendations for you to review in the report and then discuss with admin. Sean, could you take over for me, please? I'm going to start coughing here. So I'm on slide 17, general housing solutions.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. Yeah, get some water if you need. So We will just turn your attention now, as we wrap up here, to the last bit of recommendations that we explored, which is specific, recommending specific potential housing types that could be possible housing solutions for Peace River. So the information is in section 4 of the recommendations report, and we've outlined different examples of various housing solutions and approaches that could address some of the housing challenges within Peace River to meet that general desire and need for more housing, the need for more rental housing, as well as the need for more affordable housing. So as you heard Alice, she already discussed modular housing and briefly touched on accessory dwelling units. But in terms of co-op housing and land trusts that you see here on the screen, there are ways to create communal ownership of land where local financial support can help build housing, and more particularly affordable housing. As you see on the slide, fast track housing is also a method where specific housing designs are pre-approved by the municipality and allows them to go through the approval process more quickly. So, for example, CMHC has developed a housing design catalog, which shows a variety of housing designs that could be pre-approved as suitable for a community. The town of Peace River would obviously develop their own list of housing if you chose to go in this direction. Lastly, tiny home developments are something that's on a lot of people's minds these days, and it was brought up a number of times during the community engagement discussions. I do want to say that again, this is just a form of housing that could be allowed in some of the residential districts, so long as there's with specific regulations attached to that in the land use bylaw. Now, regarding some of the suggestions that we've outlined in the final report, we acknowledge that they could be contentious, especially given your recent changes to the land use bylaw. And so while adding incentive policies could be completed fairly quickly, we're not suggesting making changes to the land use bylaw right away, especially since the planners have updated it so recently. So instead, we recommend that you monitor some of the changes that have been made to the land use bylaw and consider how our suggestions could be added over time to enhance housing development even more. And so we also want you to suggest to keep that conversation going. Keep it going amongst council and town administration, local residents, builders, local businesses, and anybody else who has an interest in providing or accessing housing in Peace River. A land use bylaw, of course, is supposed to be a living document with amendments that will reflect the changing needs of the municipality. And so in the same way, developing policies to help encourage housing development should be done in a way that will meet the needs of your community and can also be adapted as the community changes. So in addition, the findings from your community and the other Enabling Housing Choice North partner communities will be added to our guidebook for enabling housing choice and diversity, which will be updating late April, early May this year. So finally, be sure to celebrate as you make changes and hopefully see the positive impacts of these changes. And shown on this slide are also some of the other RDN resources, I believe on the last slide here, that are available for you, including the guidebook. To find this and other information about how the Rural Development Network can help your municipality, please go to our website and you can find many more resources and information about what we do. So thank you. We probably went over time here, but I do want to thank you for having us today, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Could be a word.
I have one. In the report that we read, I see one of the recommendations was to have a task force or like an ad hoc committee set up. Would that be like a community committee, or would that be something like I don't really see the town setting that up? Would that be more of a different community organization to do that, or what do you see is that looking like?
Alice, go ahead
So
if you like.
I can try to answer that. Any kind of committee that we recommended in our report, from our perspective, the best way to set it up would be to combine council with housing stakeholders from the community, because that way council can take information back to staff. They can talk about it in council meetings. They can make things happen. Whereas if you have a committee that is just community members, they don't have the same kind of connection to council where things can be addressed, or where council can tell staff, okay, we want to move forward with this as policy or bylaw.
Yeah, I understand that council has to be a participant on that committee, but I guess my question was, who is driving that committee? Is it a town orchestrated committee, or do we just sit on someone else's committee from the community? Like, who leads that? Is my question. Is there a how?
It can be whoever you decide needs to lead it. So this is part of the discussion that needs to happen, is determining who would be best to lead that kind of committee. We didn't talk to anyone about who should head up committees or who should direct the information. The information that we took was all from feedback from the community.
Okay, thank you. Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you very much for your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Have a good
Thank you
evening.
for having us. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to number 2, we have grants for organizations. First up is the Peace River Curling Club.
Also. For the presentation. Hello, thank you. My name is David Blanc. I'm a board member with the Peace River Curling Club. It's my first year as board member. Super exciting, and I'm the author of the document we're going to go over today. And I'll pass it over to.
My name is Jeffrey Ford, and I'm the current president of the Curling Club. First year as well, so new grounds for us.
Exciting, so new faces in council, I think, too. So we just did a quick short presentation for you on Curling Club. So as you can see here, did some pictures up here. We're up and coming champions, the Junior Curling Club, ages 6 to 16. This is a program that we run every year. It's been growing. So curling is a sport that's growing quite rapidly. Pickleball, pickleball used to be by the wayside. Now it's super popular. So curling is definitely gaining grounds. The good thing about curling is it's always accessible. We don't have to rely on weather or forecasts, things like that. It's always going to be open year round. So some pictures here of our lovely juniors learning the broom. Camaraderie, we have here a lot of sponsors that sponsor these bonspiels. We'll get into some bonspiels here in a sec. This community group here, Control Tech, proudly sponsored some new sweaters for our juniors and helmets. So we have helmets and we're all outfitted, ready to go. Our new Olympic champions coming up. So some of the bonspiels that we do, we have the Oktoberfest is our kind of our opener spiel. We have a cash spiel, the men's and ladies stick curling. So for those who can't do traditional curling where you're throwing rocks onto the ice, you have stick curling. So this is a new thing coming in. It's been around for a little bit, and you can actually push the rock with the stick. So we do these stick curling spiels. The two big ones for us is the pulse spiel and the oilmans. And then we have the juniors fun spiel this year. Continental Cup, which is used to be frequent back in the past, and it kind of slipped away. We brought that back this year, and it was a huge success. And we also hosted the provincial club qualifiers, so we did have a team go to the provincial tryouts this year. So these bonspiels bring in people from all over the north to come and curl with us. So teams from as far away as Calgary can come up and participate in these bonspiels. This one here is a junior fun spiel that we did this year. Of course, we had some sponsors for that, and was strictly for the juniors, ages 6 to 16. We have juniors from around the area participate, and just some of the local sponsors that help keep the curling club going and keep these bonspiels and the clubs going. This year we did a Friends and Family Day. This was a huge success as well. So this was brand new people want to go out and try curling. We do have Tuesday night learned curls, which is super fun. We have a lot of people come out, a lot of new people, and they learned to curl. So we kind of broke people into teams, and they got to curl, either stick curling or traditional curling, and we got some new people coming out of that. So the leagues, so we have what's called Monday night open. So this is doesn't matter. You just come out and the teams are mixed. Tuesdays are stick curling. We did have some champions that are from Peace River here for stick curling, and then that was provincial, isn't it? I can't think, it was provincial. So the provincial stick curler champions. Wednesdays, we have the junior curling's club that starts from 4:30 to 6:30 and followed by the men's curling after that. So a pretty busy day on Wednesdays. Thursdays are ladies and Friday's a mix. So that'd be like your couples. So two ladies, two men, men's usually couples. So this is some of the different curling. So we had the mixed league. This is the men's league here. Oilers fan. This is the ladies. So these mats that we're asking for. So these ice mats are about 16, 17 years old. They have a shelf life of about 15 years. So they're Canadian made, printed in Edmonton. They can be used not only curling, but they have them now for arena rinks. So what it does, you lay it out, you don't have to paint the floor or anything. You lay them out, it retains the water better. Maintains the color. You can put sponsors on and off. We'll show you an example of sponsorship. And it really helps with the utilities. So it lowers the cost of keeping the ice cool. And it's super easy to, if the mats are new, which we're looking for, you can take them out and then you can utilize the surface for summer activities. So some examples of our aging mats. Here, they're starting to rip and fray and they're quite brittle. So we're hoping to get new ones. This is what the water's being taken off here. You can see what the ice looks like here without the water on it. So basically, you water it and you build up the water on it and to make your ice. So we're looking to partner in recreation with down Peace River. So what we're looking for in the grant is to replace these mats so that we can actually roll them up without them cracking. And if we try to roll them up now and they fail, then we're in trouble because now we don't have mats to replace them in the spring or in the winter. So we'd like to partner with the town to replace these mats, which are consumable, and offer the space available to the town, which we can open up some more, say, pickleball courts for if it's raining, or we have if it continues with the precipitation we're having now, it's going to rain all summer. But it allows us to host different activities to foster more income. So right now we have no income coming in the summer. With that open space, we can provide rentals, things like that. We've had a lot of interest already. We just missed out on the trade show that's coming out in the spring here. For car trading and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people interested in the service. So if we can partner with the town, we can provide that space for say the pickleball club that just has no more room. Say if it's the bay deck is full, it's raining, they can't get on the courts in Lower West, by that space. It also attracts more people to town as well. So we're showing our colors here, our partnerships in the town, which we definitely want to do more. And then, we definitely want to take the town branding and proudly display it on each of the rink. So there's 5 different ice surfaces, and we'll be putting the town logo on each of those surfaces. This is kind of an example here with advertising. So once the new sheets can come in, we can do a lot more advertising. So we can go to corporations in town, things like that. Like Burnett, for instance, is very eager to participate in providing sponsorship. This is what the mats kind of look like when you sponsor them. I'll kind of pass it around. It's a kind of a fabric like kind of stuff here. Hi. So it provides us with the ability to be more self-sufficient. We do get, the opportunity to do casinos once every 3 years. As you know, in the rural municipalities, we only get to do them every 3 years and have to do them up in Grand Prairie. So the funds aren't as plentiful as, say, a city, which can do them yearly. So with those funds right now, those funds are taken up over the 3 years just to provide, paying the bills for utilities. So the power bill is quite large for the facility. Moving forward, we're hoping to look at, additional grants that might be out there to change up lighting, and make us more, cost effective when it comes to using electricity. I think that's it. Did everyone have a chance to take a look at the? Great questions.
Questions? Councillor Ford.
But with the, I see what the amount of the ask is here, and you were talking about the cost of utilities compared to the cost of the ask, and the match you're looking at $30,000. Is that for all 5 sheets? Or is that total cost?
No, so, yeah, so the total cost was about 34,000, so we obviously don't wanna, we wanna do some fundraising and do some gift and kind stuff and, you know, kind of work towards that total amount. So that would be on page 10 of 15. So through merchandise selling, which we've done this year, we brought in some merchandise selling, so sweatshirts and hats, etc. And we have locker rentals, things like that, so kind of raised some money to go towards the mats. The total mats with delivery is 34,500. And that'd be for all 5 mats.
And the other question I have is, when you're talking utility cost saving with replacing your, I guess you could say, your old deteriorated mats, what kind of cost savings? Do you have a specific number that you could say what this is gonna save you in energy costs?
We don't at this time have an energy cost savings. We do save, you know, obviously without the mats, we would be producing, you know, having to produce more, the chiller would be working harder to keep the ice cooler. So the mats does provide some insulation factor to that to keep the ice cold. So we would probably have that number after a year of running the plant.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a couple, and so you say then if you could stay open in the summertime, then you would be able to have, possibly have pickleball courts in there. So if you set up a bunch of pickleball courts in there, like how do you're gonna go to the trouble and do all the lines and stuff, and then what if another group comes in and asks you, like, how many, would you only be specific to one thing then that you could do during the summer, or would you be able to be interchangeable to different events? That's one question. And then, how many members do you have?
Currently,
I believe we hit 150 members this year.
Wow.
is that included too?
And
That includes the juniors, yeah.
so the fundraising you do is mainly membership fees, or like tournament fees, that kind of thing is your only fundraising? What other fundraising do you do other than the casino every 3 years?
We do the Oktoberfest supper and dance at the beginning of every season. That's fundraising for another project that's pretty critical to the facility itself too. That's the headers. So that's in the operation side of things. So there is other avenues that we do fundraising, but we kind of are trying to separate projects and become more successful at finishing some of these projects.
Okay, I was thinking headers. I remember them talking to me about that. Go headers and what do you call this again that you're asking? Mats. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's different. But I have, I do want to mention that it was nice to see, I see an increase in overall events there in the last while. So it's kind of nice to see little things like the Tuesday stick hurling, things like that, you know, get people more involved. Hurling club is a pretty important part of every community, I think, in Alberta anyway, in northern Alberta especially. But no, thank you. That's all the questions that I have.
Growing toward generation.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
We do have a younger board, a lot of new young members. And an increased amount of volunteers too, so. which is really helping the club.
That's really good to hear, actually. It's dependent, the success of the club is only dependent on those who take part, so that's good, you're getting a more
Yeah.
uptake in people.
Yeah, so yeah, I'd be open to rentals, everybody could rent it, whatever's available. It's no trouble to take down some lines for pickleball. We've done that in the Syndazor Cultural Center. Throw the lines down and then come winter, you just take the tape off and you're good to go. So that wouldn't be a problem at all.
Oh, okay, I was just kind of wondering how that would be, you're gonna have to shift between things
Oh.
like that, that's. Okay, I got it now, but thank you very much, so we don't hand out the grants until the thing closes and we have heard from everyone, so you'll hear after, sometime after it's discussed and graded.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Ford has another question.
Just one more question. So, being the mats can't be rolled up because they're so brittle right now. What about like during the summer months right now? Do you still rent your upstairs out for any events during
Yeah.
the summer?
Yeah, we rent the facility out as much as we can. So if somebody's interested in just the upstairs, it's definitely available and open for rental. But it would be nice to rent out the whole space.
Welcome. Well, thank you very much. We do have some
Oh.
pins for you. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next up, we'll have Rotaract.
Hi, I'm Louise Small with Peace River Rotaract. We're a local group, here taking pride in action in our hometown, and we've requested $10,300 towards our, third Rotaract River Days. And so I have a video. This one we had, Danny Reardon with Rural Heart Media joined us last year, and she did all the drone drops and put this together for us. So I'll play this video. It shows clips of what River Days is and what we do. It's a 3-day event, and this year it's being held June 19th, 20th, and 21st. I'm just gonna try and share. Let's just have some music going over our belts to talk, but this was at our, the Pretty Princess picnic on Sunday. We had the block party on Friday. We had the Art Hub always joins. Last year we had our parade. We'd like to do that again this year. Lots of community groups joined in. The NAS had a shootout in the street by the brewery. We have lots of businesses join in. Then Riverfront Park is full of people. We always have a pancake breakfast. Bouncy castles. Last year we had bubblegum blowing contest. That was a big hit for the kids. Live music the whole Friday night and Saturday during the day. Our wood carvers coming back this year again. It's Mad for Plaid, so we have all things plaid. We sell swag all weekend. Lots of food trucks and vendors, car show, the boats come as well for the Friday night. Balloon artists, bouncy castles, the foam party. We do this in conjunction with the Jet Boating Association. And so they still have their beer gardens down on the other side of the riverbank. And then we've taken over like the family fun part of it, community part of it. Lots of sponsors. We've had many people that have helped out, like Falcon Rentals has helped out with porta potties in the past and hand washing stations. Rotary provided the kites last year, or the funding for the kites, and this year we were able to get more, but they look a bit different this year. I'm really excited, so. The money this year that we're requesting is going towards bouncy castles, mechanical bull, balloon artists, and the tipsy barrels, which are the donkeys that you would have seen in the video. Yeah, and with that, we also were hoping that it could be more of like a partnership with the town. We are just a group of 8 to 10 of us trying to run a pretty large event. And so we just helping promote River Day, showing some excitement. We aren't joining the trade fair this year, but we do have involvement brochures, so we were wondering if they could be handed out at the town booth. It just falls in a very busy time with our dodgeball and a few other things, so that are really exciting that are coming up, but we don't have the time or capacity to join trade fair this year. Participate in the window or office decorating contest for Bradford Plaid, enter a float in the parade if you can. Enter a booth for Family Fun Fair, we know the museum already did. Provide Stuart, your photographer, for the weekend and the photos, they've always been wonderful in the past. Maybe a volunteer to sell swag or help out, and then deliver and return bleachers from the Baytex. We haven't had like an actual emergency in any of our events so far, which has been really good, but we've just put generic contacts down in our emergency plans for like an emergency contact, so if there's one that we know will be there that weekend that we can contact. And the bleachers, traffic control for the parade, and then the barricades for the parade. And the traffic control for those, but they're simple tasks that would help alleviate some stress for us that we're on, because last year was really stressful, especially for the parade at certain intersections, and people don't care when they're leaving sometimes and they need to go somewhere, and it's pretty stressful when we don't have, it's a lot of locations to be at once, so those are just some of the asks, and then what we were using the money for.
Any questions for Mrs. Small? If you had to guess how many hours you would require of in-kind assistance, like including do you have an approximate amount, what you would need, like you need 3 hours this day, 1 hour this day?
I feel like the main part would be manning barricades for the parade, which we set it up. I think like it would be 2 to 3 hours with the parade, like was set up, and then it going through. Once the parade goes through, it's pretty easy to clean it up and move the barricades where they might need to be. And then where the boats are entering by the Legion to go into the Legion parking lot for the show, we need someone there opening and closing. It's mostly like the parade, and then the Family Fun Fair booth in the Family Fun Fair would be 10 to 4, 10 to 3, like whatever can be committed to, but it's like putting in a fun fair activity. Last year, the museum put in, there was a few different games, some coloring. I feel like there was something dinosaurs because it linked to what was happening at the museum. We had like the Plinko board and fishing for ducks in a pool, like just little fun games. And so there's a game that could be but so I don't know but for a few hours on Friday, and then whatever could be committed to on Family Fun Fair Day.
When is the parade, Friday or Saturday?
The parade is on Friday, and I believe we have it scheduled for 5 again, so then it would be before like 4 o'clock, setting up barricades and getting the floats to line up, and then sending them down at 5, and then we clean it up. It might be 5:30. I'd have to double check on our schedule, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, anybody else have any questions about this year's River Days? Okay, well, thank you, and we'll be in touch once all the applications are summarized and evaluated. It's exciting times, though. Be good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Alberta Pond Hockey, and I think they could not be with us tonight. The Royal Canadian Legion. They won't be able to be here tonight.
Your worship.
It's on. Just a note, they did contact administration to pass on their regrets. They had planned to attend this evening, the Legion, but due to illness were not able to attend. So I just wanted to pass
Oh,
that
okay.
on their behalf.
Okay, thank you very much. And then the Underground Music Society, I see nobody here from there. So that takes us to the end of the grants for groups portion. Moving on to number 5, comments from the public, and we don't have anybody here to comment. So we'll move on to 6, which is the review of bylaws or policies. We have none. Number 7, unfinished business. We have none. So moving on to current business, we'll have an update from the Peace River Municipal Library and Art Gallery with Director Bell.
Forgot about that. Just to note, council, the executive director from the library provided some information based on the presentation and questions that council had asked in the February 23rd meeting, I believe. So it's just there for your information as follow-up from their presentation.
Do we have any questions? If not, could we have a motion put on the floor? James, Councillor Carr, Deputy Mayor Carr, sorry.
I move the council accept the update. Sorry. I move the council accept the update from Peace River Municipal Library for information.
All those in, oh,
Yeah, just one question,
okay,
Mayor. Because that was my question about when during the presentation about the incidents, what type of incidents are we talking about? When they say in 2024, there's 120 recorded incidents. In 2025, there was 105 reported. What kind of incidents are we talking about?
I
Is
don't,
that an incident where we need a CPO response or a police
No.
response or?
I can't provide you any further detail on. I think it would probably make up any of their incidents within the facility, whether that was requiring external supports through CPO, RCMP, ambulance, or any other incidents that they would have. But I'd have to inquire to the library and get you a little more detail if you would like me to do so.
Yeah, I'd be interested in
Sure.
that.
Absolutely.
that's
Yes.
good information to have.
Unless there's, as Director Kress, have you responded to any of these incidents they're talking about in the report?
Yes, we have quite a few. They result in banishment of the individual? Yes. Yes.
Oh. Councillor Bell.
Yeah.
I gave a answer to the question.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it included all, like, the work, there are some that they needed the CPU to kind of act on, and there are some that, I mean, I think most of them, they require the CPU to act on. Yeah, and it could be like people appearing drunk. So like, you are drunk, you cannot be here, or people having substances that they're not supposed to be in possession of in the library, things like that. Or being maybe rude to the staff. Those are the type of incidents.
Okay, so that's clarified. So we do have a motion on the floor to accept for information. So all those in favor of the motion on the floor? And that is carried. And we'll move on, still with Director Bell, the Taxi Pass Program update.
Keeping up. Still trying to figure out these microphones. They're not that hard, but I don't know. Let's see. Oh my God, today. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And council, before you is a report to provide new members of council with further information about the Tax Pass program. This is a significant program that the town offers in the community, so it's a opportunity for education and information for new members of council. And also to identify and bring forward a request received from a member of the community for council's consideration this evening. The Tax Pass program has been in place for, we're estimating over 40 years. We don't have an exact start date, but it's been in place for a very long time. It has evolved and morphed and changed, especially over the last at least 10 years. It has seen some significant changes. Most recent, or just a little bit about the program. Eligible users can apply, and after they have been approved, they have access to taxi passes, which essentially is a voucher, a subsidized voucher. So within a booklet, there are 20 tickets. Each booklet costs $30 and provides the individual client with $100 in taxi value. The town currently subsidizes, starting in 2026, it's a 70% subsidy. To participate in the program, users have to complete a full application form, and we ensure eligibility. First off, residence in Peace River is a requirement. We get a lot of requests from outside the community, so you have to be living in the community and provide proof of residency in the community. Eligible applicants must also fall under one of the income-based eligibility categories. So keywords here are income-based. The program is a subsidy for low-income individuals in the community. It is targeted, and we do recognize that some of our eligibility categories are rather low. But there's a bit of a plan for how we can tackle some of that going forward in the future. We have a seniors category, age 65 and older, and we utilize an existing Alberta provincial program called the Alberta Senior Supports Program, and we utilize their income levels. So instead of creating random income levels for seniors, we utilize the existing program, of which we're very intimately knowledgeable of. We refer clients all the time to that particular program. Age clients, soon to be, we'll have to update our policy to match the new program, which is taking over the age program or changing into whatever the new program is called. But currently, it's assured income for the severely handicapped. Age clients have to provide a copy of their current age statement and prove they are on age to be eligible. We have two low income, an individual category and a low income family category. The individual income level is 15,000 for a single individual with no children. Low income family encompasses individuals either in a couple situation with no children or an individual with children or dependents. And it's combined family income. It's not individuals, it's the combined, if there's more than one individual or adult in that particular household. We also offer to students at Northern Lakes College for the duration of their enrollment. So it's just September till April or September to June, whatever the time frame of their enrollment is. And we have added in our most recent update, independent minors. So minors who are living independently of their parents and may not be quite 18 years of age. We have a couple of those situations, not too many, but a couple of them. But these are all income tested categories. All participants must renew on an annual basis. Each renewal might be slightly different. We sort of shift phase when renewal happens, so it's not always January 1 for every single individual. Each client's renewal is a different date than our income level into categories are. However, everyone must renew on an annual basis so that we can ensure they remain eligible for the program. We have seen an adjustment over the years with our seniors category, for example. We did require income testing for seniors in our most recent update. And once we implemented that new requirement, we did have seniors that did no longer met the eligibility requirement in renewal. And then we also had quite a number of seniors who just came on the program and never used it. So if you're not using it, we do ask for a renewal every year to keep everyone up to date. People move, they change, their needs change. So we want to make sure everyone is eligible and stay true to the requirements of the policy. I provide you with a little snippet of who our clients were in 2025. There hasn't been any significant changes to date, but it's still early in 2026. We had 2025 was 145 active clients. 218 was our highest number in 2019. But that was pre-seniors income testing. As soon as we started to income test seniors, or we found quite a number of seniors just were not active on the program, and we never heard from them again when we reached out and asked them to renew, or they became ineligible with the income levels. As noted earlier, over the last 10 to 14 years, we've had significant updates to the policy and refinement of the eligibility criteria. We've had a number of reviews. Council has reviewed this policy quite actively over that time frame. In 2023 was the most recent review of the program and the policy that directs it. At that time, the direction and the conversation of council and administration was how to reduce the subsidy. The subsidy level was 85% on the town, was quite substantive. Most programs like this, BC has a taxi saver program. There's other examples in other provinces and other communities in Alberta. The subsidy level is usually around a 50% subsidy level. So 85% was significant, a significant burden on the taxpayer. So we are in a process, as per the policy, moving the subsidy level annually by 5% down, with the goal of reaching 65% in 2027. And thus we would come back to council and have a additional conversation if you would like to continue down the path of that subsidy level reduction. The policy currently only goes up to 2025 for that subsidy level change to that 65% level. But there is still some opportunity if council is interested in moving that needle a little bit on the subsidy level. In that same conversation was an intent in general at the time, though still for this council's consideration in the future, whether or not once we move the subsidy level a little bit lower, if there's an opportunity to potentially expand the family and the individual income levels a little bit higher, so that we could possibly capture some of our members of the community, for example, that are working a minimum wage position, but are over this threshold typically by about $3,000. So there could be an opportunity to expand some of that income level to offer the program to more individuals in the community. The other part of the conversation that we've also had in the past, and we would present as part of the discussion going forward, is the number of tickets that are offered. If you're looking at increasing the subsidy or a client income level a little bit higher, maybe we're not providing the same number of tickets per month. Maybe there's a way to have a bit of a scale. As income goes up, maybe tickets go down, but there's some opportunity potentially in the future to change some of those income categories. So I was essentially just planting the seed as part of that intent of reducing the subsidy level. But that will be for a further conversation that if council so chooses to explore at a later date. We have had other assessments as we're viewing them through 2 human rights complaints, one brought forward in 2020 and one brought forward in 2021. Those 2 complaints were based on the protected grounds of physical disability. The Alberta Human Rights Commission did a full investigation and it came back as unfounded, and the 2 complaints were dismissed because the program is income based. It is not based on physical disabilities or any other aspects that an individual may have in their personal circumstances. It is income tested. Each one of the categories we presented is income tested. So that was reaffirming for the town that our policy is being true to its intent. Program budget provided to you is an overview of the last 5 years. I could go back the last 20 if you really wanted. I'm not sure that's helpful. So based on shakes, no. The last 5 years is what I've provided. 2021, please remember this was post-pandemic, so we did see a dip in 2021 in use. We started seeing an uptake in use again in 2022. 2023 was our highest use in the last 5 years. 2023. 24, we had a slight reduction, and 2025, we saw an even further reduction. Though there's a variation of how people are using the program. We're not definitive yet. We need to run the subsidy change this next year and possibly one more year to definitively link drop of use to increase cost to the client. We can't definitively tell you that 2025's drop in use was because the program cost the client an additional $10 more than 2 years previous. That's our guesstimate at this point. We would have to do a little more work with our clients and find out if that's if our hypothesis is accurate or not. So we will be doing that with our next review coming up next year as per the policy, 2027 being our last year of that subsidy rate change. Before council also is this additional request from an individual who has requested to add individuals in the community who are legally blind. We've had similar requests, not maybe specifically from this individual, plus a number of other individuals for various other reasons. It's almost a regular ask to make exceptions to the policy, and we redirect everyone back to the policy as it is based on income. There is an opportunity if council would like to make some adjustments to the policy in this next round of the scale potential for income, which could provide more opportunity to some of those requests based again still on income. It is up to council if you'd like to look at any of those individual requests as this one has come forward to this evening. But administration does caution, it does set a precedent if we open up your criteria that's outside of an income base. It could open us up for a human rights complaint or additional human rights complaint of which we would not necessarily be able to defend if we're changing criteria outside of that income level. So we definitely are empathetic to those additional requests. And we would always like to help as much as we possibly can. But in this particular case, the program parameters as they are currently is still income tested. So if you are interested in looking at additional opportunities for changes to the policy, we would recommend direction of that kind this evening, and we'd bring back a further report with all the pros and cons and further detail of what that may look like or what the implications may be. Do you have any questions?
Any questions, Councillor Ford?
Mine wasn't actually a question, but more of a comment was I don't mind adding the term legally blind to the program, but you had already answered my question. I was gonna say it definitely has to be income based. If we do add that, because just simply because of the fact of setting that precedent. You kind of took the words out of my mouth when I was gonna ask the question. Yeah.
Anyone else? Councillor Deuce?
So just one question, so the letter that we got mentioned that we are one of the few communities in all of Canada who do not offer this service or this assistance, I guess. So how are other programs that offer a taxi pass program or taxi pass service handling this with the legally blind? Are you aware of any programs that, how they operate?
I'm not, a lot of communities our size have a handy bus service. A few communities larger than Peace River have transit such as Hinton and Whitecourt. So whether they incorporate, but they also both have a handy bus service also. So they may offer it through their handy bus, they may offer it through their transit service. I am not aware BC and BC's transportation services or BC Transit throughout the entire province. So they would also include it within their transit service. They're paratransit systems, which is similar as a handy bus service, a handy a transit service. So they would potentially offer it through those multiple different options within their various spectrum of public transportation offerings. I'm not aware, though I'd have to do a little bit more digging, if any other community that offers a subsidized taxi program offers it specifically for the legally blind.
Disability.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did have a disability category in one of our policy iterations a number of years back. We removed it because it was disability category and the same income level as the individual. So it felt very redundant and a little bit confusing if we say disability, but it's the same income level, then we just said it's the same income level as the individual. It didn't really add any value to have another category with the same income level.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
That was my question, Dave. There's gotta be somebody that has done something about this somewhere in Alberta.
Mhm.
There has to be some kind of a example or someone that's attempted. I would like to know, to look a little more into it to see,
Sure.
because I feel like we're letting people fall through the cracks. And it's almost like, okay, we're gonna bend over, you want students, okay, let's do that. Everything in the world is not based on income. And sometimes monetary is not some, really should be addressed through that lens, but Deputy Mayor Carr.
I agree with you 100%, but I think the way the program is, it protects everybody. It's a level playing field for everybody. If you start making exceptions and not that I'm not empathetic, but where do you draw the line? And then you're opening yourself up, as Director Bell said, to a human rights complaint and possibly punishment as a result of it.
I wouldn't necessarily say it has to come under this program. I'm talking independent.
Oh, an
program.
additional.
An additional
Yeah,
program,
yeah.
yeah, something very simple. But
Yeah.
then, like you say, what if someone comes along and says, well, I have a hearing? But I guess that's not the same thing, because you don't
Well-
to hear a lot, but you know what I mean? Like, it is gonna be a very
Yes.
sensitive.
Yes, there's a challenge, once you try, and we can absolutely bring back options, there's handy bus options, there's transit options. It just really depends on funding.
Yes.
If there's a financial
Back to that, yeah.
implication to anything that's created. So that's also a consideration of council of what you would be looking for contributions financially from the town for any of those other options.
Councillor Deuce.
Yeah, I think there's some opportunity to look at maybe a different program or something like that, as Mayor Shannon said. For this, do you have any idea roughly? I know a lot of people have talked to me in the past about if we just had like a shuttle service from downtown Peace River up to the West Hill and back. Do you have any idea what the cost of something like that would be?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
And it's very different than the transit service that the town offered in, I think the last year was 2011. No, 2001.
Somewhere there.
I've lost track
Long
of time
ago, long time
completely.
ago.
It was quite a while ago.
500.
Yeah, I would imagine the program costs are quite different. The previous council had a conversation about a handy bus. And I did have some costing on that, but I'm drawing a complete blank on what that cost was.
I thought it was $250,000. For some reason, I thought it was 250.
It might be in the range of, yeah, upwards of 200. It's, it really depends on how we put it together. If we're operating a service ourselves, that's hiring of multiple staff, not just one, because you can't rely on one person. They get sick, they go on vacation. Those types of things happen. So you're hiring multiple staff, the purchase of the equipment. It's possible you could contract something like that out. I don't know that there's a lot of transit providers or small handy bus providers in our area, like there used to be in the past. It's changed. But again, all options on the table we can look at. Yeah.
I think it's worthy of the conversation, and we might not be able to come up with a solution, but
Yeah.
it's worthy of a conversation and
Yeah.
a little more research.
I would agree with that.
Question.
Oh, Mr. Babel.
I was wondering, like, how did we determine the threshold for the income, like 15,000, 25,000?
Those amounts were utilized, they've probably been in place for over 10 to 15 years. That is one of our items we would like to adjust based on the low income cutoff. So the LICO, it's the federal Stats Canada statement, low income cutoff, yes, like the LICO. We would like to implement those levels so that it's based on a documented amount. But to be able to do that, we need to move some of this subsidy so that we're not impacting or increasing the budget of this particular program dramatically. So that's our plan. Or the LMA, low income measurement after tax, LMIAT. Can't remember the exact, there are a couple of different options that we could utilize, and that's our hope, to move towards those numbers. Because the 15 and the 25 have been in place for so long that we can't definitively state it came from X location.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Because I noticed that for the seniors, it's kind of close to those.
Yes.
But for this is,
Yeah.
the gap is.
It's very low.
Yeah.
And if we change those now, we would almost be doubling the overall expense. So that's why we needed to move the subsidy, and then it's a bit of a process, and we're hoping everyone hangs on with us. Every year and through January, we do a lot of advertising to our clients of the change of subsidy level and the rationale behind it. And we're publicly state on our webpage on the town's website, specifically around the program, acknowledging that the income levels are very low. The policy even states it, because we want to publicly acknowledge that. And hope that everyone can work with us as we move towards something that might meet the community's needs. But it's going to take us a year or two more to get there.
Okay, we have no motion posed for us here, but does someone want to propose one? Mr. Person.
Sure, I'll direct the administration maintain the Taxi Press program as an income-based program with no changes to eligibility at this time.
I think you don't want to have that they were looking to develop.
And further research other options.
And yes, and we can further look into separate programs that might address further
Other-
eligibility.
How's that, Ms. Parsons? I see you nodding your head. Okay, sounds good. Good job. Counselor Porter.
So the way that motion is read, does that allow administration to look at adding the legally blind to our current program based on income or not?
No.
No.
Be a separate program.
It's not required, it's based on income anyways,
Yes.
because it's the same as the disability. I'm sorry, it's the
Okay,
same
no,
as the
I got
disability
it.
comment.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Moving on to number 3, ATCO franchise report and streetlight savings update with CAL Miller.
Was that me?
Thank you.
I moved.
Mayor Shannon. And council, is this on now? So what's included in the agenda package before you is the annual ATCO 2025 for 2025, the electric franchise report. So this comes to us, as I mentioned, annually, and it just gives a breakdown of the number and type of customers we have, the franchise fees we earned, and a little bit of comment on the reliability of the system, and then projections for future franchise fees. What is particularly interesting in this report that I wanted to bring to council's attention is the comments or the notes under streetlights, and specifically the number of streetlights that are now being charged. So in 2024, the number of lights was listed as 1,100. And in 2025, we've reduced that number down to 1,039. And this reduction is a direct result of administration conducting an internal review, an audit, auditing our billing invoice to the GIS system and our actual asset street pole numbers that are listed in our GIS system. And when we audited the two, we identified there was a number of street lights that we were being charged for that weren't located on our GIS system. So we went back then to ATCO and we brought forward this discrepancy to their attention. They then did their own audit, and it turned out there's been about 60 street lights that are no longer active or are not in our name or should never have been in our name, that we are no longer being billed for. So the result of that, we pay about $40 a month for streetlight in 2025, and so 40 at 61 lights works out to about $24.40 a month, which we can enjoy an anticipated savings moving forward of at minimum $29,280. And this discrepancy often can occur from streetlights being decommissioned, streetlights being replaced, and they don't, they fail to remove the one light, but they add the new one on. Or just simply data entry error. So it's important that we conduct these internal audits every few years because the results can be significant.
Are there any questions? Councillor Ford?
Has administration noticed year to date yet on any cost savings of changing from the HPS lighting to LED?
No, we haven't. Because that project just actually finished like fully this in 2025. So I think in 2026, after we have a full billing year, we'll sort of see a difference, but you know, it's not going to be significant because they also charge a different price on the rider of that type of lighting. Till they get paid out. So after 2026, we will do a cost comparison of total kilowatts used, because that's what it would be on, not so much dollars, right? It'd be the usage. And then we'll get that information and compare between the two.
The reason why I was asking that question is I see the inventory summaries at 1,039 lights with 932 now completed into LED and 107 left to change.
So. For example, the fancy lights downtown, I don't believe they will turn to LED. And there may be some other lights that won't actually be changed to LED. We may not get it right down to 0. So you're right.
Any other questions? Counselor Babalola?
So, the audit, the result of the audit will say was 29,000 per year, right? The times the billed were the ones that were not supposed to be billed, did they refund it?
I believe they're gonna give us consideration from the point in time that we asked to them to do the review. Because it took them several months as well to conduct their portion. I think that is as far as they're gonna go back.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Will someone put a motion on the floor? Counselor Deuce?
I move that council accept the code 2025 franchise report and streetlight savings update for information.
All those in favor? And that is carried. Up next, we have the 2026 operating budget discussions with Ms. Guidon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There we go. Okay, so I have before you the 2026 draft operating tax supported budget. It was brought before you for the first time back in March. So this is a second look. So we're going to go over tonight what this presentation covers, our process, some key assumptions. We're going to discuss some of the items that changed since March 2nd. There were a couple items that have been adjusted. We've got some overall budget highlights, a few other items that were brought forward for consideration, and the detail review for the various departments. So the town's operating budget is divided between tax supported and the utility supported functions. This presentation only covers the tax supported portion. The utilities supported budget was passed back in February, so utilities are not included in this. It also includes, this budget includes the Family Resource Network, Parent Education and Home Visitation, all part of the FRN budgets. And those items are fully funded by provincial grants and delivered by the town of Peace River. So they are in the budget, but have no impact on the bottom line. So our process is we have decentralized input. Everybody has access to our budgeting software and can enter information and notes. It's reviewed by corporate services. It's reviewed by the CAO. We calculate the municipal requisition that we're going to require. In this case, this year, we passed an interim budget to allow for continued operation while we went into a little more detail and took a little longer to get this budget put together. And we are at the council review stage with operation for discussion and feedback. Upcoming will be final approval of the budget and preparation and approval of the 3-year operating plan. Some of our key assumptions, the budget figures were compiled using prior year trends, estimates from administration, known and anticipated inflationary pressure. The municipal requisition targeted a 2.5% increase, which is in line with what we would anticipate inflation to be for this upcoming year. It's kind of bounced between 2 and 3% for the last 2 or 3 years, coming down from much higher inflation. 2026 includes revenues from capital contributions from third parties with matching contributions to capital reserves, so the capital revenues are in and out. We've assumed that we would maintain or increase service levels. The year-to-date information is the 2025 year-to-date actuals as they were back in February. I have not updated them, even though I've made a number of adjustments for the audit. The audit presentation for year-end financial statements is due, I believe it's on the April 20th meeting. So you'll see the final actuals at that point. Salary and benefits, the collective agreement negotiation that concluded in 2024 gave us a known increase of 2.6% for unionized staff. The non-union staff increase of 2.6% was set in 2024 as well. We've assumed that all positions would be filled and that we would have CPP, EI, and benefit increases. As with the utility budget, we've split our expenses between fixed and discretionary. We have included amortization and we have excluded the principal repayment on long-term debt. Some of the items which we have changed from March 2nd. First, with the provincial budget coming out, we have been informed that our school requisition levy will increase by $58,000. So our requisition expense is going to increase by $58,000. Those are funds that we collect on behalf of the province that we just pass right on to the province in, out. But what it does do is it does show up on everybody's property tax notice. With current world events, we're seeing increases in fuel prices at the pump and when we fill the tanks at Public Works. So we have bumped up our budgeted fuel costs by 20%, which worked out to $30,000 spread over 3 different departments. And a few different sub-departments. We have increased economic development administration. We added $10,000 for nuclear engagement. We thought that given some of the prospects for our community that we would like to support some nuclear engagement events. We have been informed that the NRED grant of $115,000, that ask has been denied. So we have removed that revenue from the budget along with the grant funded portion of $115,000 from some expense accounts. We have left in the budget because with NRED grants, we have to provide matching funds. So we have left the portion that the town was going to pay for in the budget. We just removed the $115 that's going to be covered by the NRED grant. With those changes, this resulted in an increase in the transfer from reserve by $40,420. So moving on to some overall items. Our property tax requisition is going to be around $12,889,000. And again, the blue and yellow chunks right here, this is what's going to show up on your property tax notices. This piece is going to be set by council when we pass the budget. A couple weeks ago, we had the presentation from the assessors with where the assessments are going to be. The value on the assessments is going to be used to allocate that yellow chunk among all the ratepayers. So some classes of properties might go up, some might go down based on where their assessments have gone. The assessments going up is great for the town because it shows development and it shows increase in value, but its only impact on the revenue is how that revenue is allocated down to the individual property owners. So assessments going up doesn't automatically mean that our tax requisition is going to go up. So just wanted to put that out there. Moving on, our expenses, we've got fixed expenses. The yellow chunk is a shade over 2/3 at $20 million. Our discretionary expenses are the with the required discretionary being roughly 13%, and the not truly discretionary being around, the not truly discretionary, the things like the training and fuel being the 14%, the discretionary where we have option being the 18%. Pardon me, I have that backwards at first. The fixed expenses, the vast majority of it, 45% is salaries and benefits. Those are the people that provide all the services that the town provides. Okay. Amortization of 20%, utilities 8%. The education and housing requisitions is 17% of the fixed expenses. So there again, that one went up slightly. Moving on to the discretionary expenses, the required discretionary, a large chunk of that, the big blue chunk of 2.2 million, that is the RCMP contract. We do have contracted services in the discretionary portion. Those are items that we have a little more ability to negotiate. We've got vehicle fuel in the not discretionary of 7%. Taxi program costs 3%. Repairs and maintenance in the discretionary side of 7%, but just like with a vehicle, sometimes there's certain repairs that need to be done. If you put them off, it costs you more in the long run. So that gives you a little snapshot as to where the expenses fall overall. In terms of comparing our tax supported overall budget, there was the transfer from capital in 2025 budget was included as negative expense. So if we kept everything as the 2025 budget was, it shows a 20% increase. But when we move the 2025 transfer from capital to revenue, the way it's presented in 2026, the increase is 5.85% overall. Significant changes in the year-over-year budget. So total expenses for 2026 are 29,496,000. Total expenses for 2025, when we take that transfer from reserve out, 20 million. The difference is 1.6 million. So on a very high level, we've added CPO position, executive assistant position in 2025. That's $180,000. The contribution to capital reserve, we never included an expense before. We completed the revenue and expense this year. That's 500,000. The 2.6% wage increase is around 190,000. We've added 200,000 for additional snow clearing because we were going hard in January and February trying to keep the streets clear. The marketing plan, the town portion of the NRED grant, that's our $115,000 contribution for that. Last year, we finished updating all the water meters at town facilities, and we're now capturing water at town facilities at the same rate as all the other ratepayers. So that has added $150,000 to the town budget. Amortization has increased to $172,000. We've bumped up trail maintenance for the trails sub-department to the tune of about $100,000. And then there's a number of other adjustments, some up, some down. So to balance it off, that's about $18,000. So those are the major changes from 2025 to 2026. There were some items that were brought forward for consideration that are not included in this. The first was a specific ask to increase our radio promotion from 25,000 to 50,000. The ask was to have $50,000 in radio advertising. Currently, we are spending 25, so I'm assuming that would be an increase of $25,000. So bringing it forward for your guys' feedback and consideration. We've also had a request from the Ken Sargent House for funding for $35,000. The Star sponsorship, when they did their presentation, they were requesting a progressive increase on a per capita basis. We are currently budgeting $5,000 for Stars. If we started doing the progressive increase, that would increase for 2026 by $1,600. And that would be $1 per capita where we would start the move. The Massawa Medical Center, they did a presentation last spring, I believe, somewhere around there. They're requesting $1.2 million. We've got the airport committee. We're not sure whether or not there needs to be some dollars attached for meetings. Yes, Mayor Shannon.
Do you want us to ask questions as we go, or do you want to wait till the end, or how do you?
Fire away.
I'm just curious, the additional position, CPO and executive assistant, that didn't come to us for approval, did it?
The executive assistant is.
Catherine.
Oh, okay.
And the
And then, yeah.
CPO.
Oh, these are what the past. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
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 nothing new.
okay,
Yeah.
No,
thank you, sorry.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah. He'll take more though.
Oh, yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
I was asking because there was talk of, and when I seen executive assistant, I assumed it was the one for CPOs that we had, that was in a conversation before. Thank you, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no worries. It's better for you to ask now than. And then we also put in there a strategic plan. We don't know if there should be a budget for some initiatives coming out of the strategic plan, whether we should have a lump sum to draw on in case there should be. So these are items that we want you guys to consider. I don't need, or we don't need an answer right now on these. If you want, we can continue through the budget while you guys think and contemplate and yes.
What is the Massawa Medical Center? First I've heard of it.
It's, my understanding is it's is that the training?
The training facility.
Facility in Grand Prairie?
They're gonna. if I-
Absolutely.
Yeah, so their plan is to train, I believe it's 20 doctors a year there. It'll have a daycare, a restaurant, medical facility, so their hope is to have specialists there at the clinic that they can be referred to going forward, basically beefing up the Grand Prairie Hospital for the region.
If you go to Grand Prairie, you'll see it's under construction already.
Grapevine involved.
And I believe that the Northwest Polytech has a bit of a medical program training doctors, so the idea is to keep the doctors here.
Yeah.
Instead of shipping them elsewhere and hoping that they come back.
And sorry, again, what is the Ken Sargent House sponsorship here?
I read the proposal and it sounds kind of like a Ronald McDonald House where it's a place for people to stay when they're in
In
Grand
town
Prairie.
here? Or?
So, in Grand Prairie.
We have the
All
Rotary,
that stuff.
Yeah.
like a Rotary.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
If I may ask one question?
Yeah.
Madam Mayor. So I know this is something that Mayor Shannon has talked about in the past. I'm just curious what the extra $25,000 for radio advertising locally would be used for. What do we advertise for?
I would be very happy to answer that, what my vision is. I think that, we've talked about this before, we need to start at home. If we wanna be active in a certain way, and if we wanna have a vision and we wanna have, initiatives and things like that, we need to have a better communication with our community. And by looking by some of the expansions they did, the platforms they've had, they have. We are not taking advantage of the advertising we have now, and I think we need to up that for a couple of years until we get to a point where we have the residents thinking civic pride, we have communication, we have promotion is basically what we'll use that for all of our initiatives, whether it be the Economic Development Committee or council as a whole. We need to up our profile in our community, in our own community. It starts at home. If nobody knows us here, nobody's gonna know us anywhere else in Alberta or around the country and the world. So we gotta start putting up our profile now. And I see that as the most direct and inexpensive way. That is not a lot of money for constant promotion, constant communication. And if we utilize every tool they have there, like the Brick Lounge and things like that, we are going to be doing just that and getting us out there. It's important. It's not a frivolous ask. It is very important.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Nope, not seeing any, so we are going to move on to the detailed budget. General municipal revenues, we've got property tax requisition, overall between residential, commercial, industrial, farm, the increase for all of those is 2.5% overall. We did increase the two levies for the education, the residential and farmland, and the non-residential. Overall, between the two of them, they went up $58,000. There was a question asked about machinery and equipment taxes. That is the property taxes on industrial processing equipment. Taking a quick look, that would be primarily like the gravel crushing items in town. They get taxed differently. So they're a separate class. We've also got the transfer from reserve of $3.59 million. That is the transfer from reserve to support the budget. It was included as a negative expense last year, so that is a significant change. We're treating it as a revenue this year as it should have been in the past. Moving on to the expenses, we've got the requisitions, and the requisition expenses have increased, matching $58,290, which is per the information provided to us from the Government of Alberta. Miscellaneous expenses and the contribution to capital reserve in 2025 is shown as a negative expense. That's the item that we moved up onto the revenue side. So overall, for the general municipal expenses, they are $3.4 million. General government revenues, we've got provincial grant of $118,000. That is the operating LGFF grant. We've got some revenue for tax certificates, the Partners in Injury rebate of $29,000. Overall general government revenues of $163,000. Moving through the expenses, we're starting with governance. These are the council expenses. We've got salaries, benefits as fixed. We've got software, we've got consultant fees of $50,000. That includes the strategic planning session that everyone attended. We've got program costs of $10,000. That was for those funds are earmarked for open houses and council events. Total governance expenses of $515,000. General government, election expenses, we had nothing budgeted for this year. Legislative services, we've reallocated the legislative services positions. So we've set up a new budget category. It is not new funds, as these funds are being pulled from where they were shared before. So these are not new positions. This is a reclassification of existing positions. So legislative services, $267,000. General government, fixed expenses of $85,000. This includes audit fees, software, general liability insurance, discretionary expenses, legal fees, consulting. We've got an adjustment for training and development, a negative adjustment in there. That is to recognize that we don't usually spend all of our training dollars, but we're not sure who's going to be under, so we put it in general government and to put the overall training to where it usually is, without clawing anybody's budget back. And we have the grants to groups of $55,000. Administration. We've got salaries and benefits, we've got amortization. So total fixed expenses come to $483,000. We've got staff appreciation of $4,000. A question was asked, why are we budgeting $4,000 when the actual is only $803? For 2024, the actual was actually $3,500. So looking at it on more than 1 year, the 4,000 is in the ballpark as to where it previously was. No major changes in anything else. Total administration expenses of $578,000. Corporate services, fixed expenses of $281,000. Relocation expenses, $10,000. That's a new line item that I am optimistic we will be using when we hire a new director of corporate services. I keep putting it out there. No other really large changes. Total corporate service expenses of $317,000. Moving on to information systems. Fixed expenses of $160,000. Discretionary expenses of $162,000, including $125,000 for contracted services. That is the support that we receive from IT to supplement what Alex is doing. Provides coverage, provides additional assistance with keeping everything operational because one IT person cannot be everywhere all at once. Communications, fixed expenses of $139,000. Discretionary expenses of $118,000. Consulting fees are included in that for $40,000. That is that includes the communication plan, I believe. So that we can take a look at what our communication needs are moving forward. Moving on to finance, fixed expenses of $473,000. Discretionary expenses of $41,000. No big changes to this department. Total expenses of $515,000. General government, human resources, fixed expenses of $277,000. Discretionary of $131,000, including $18,000 for staff appreciation. That is everything. That is long-term service awards for the entire town, including the utility side, because we're treating all our staff as a pool. The social fund for the Christmas party, funds for the Christmas parade. Recognition of life events. So when we send people flowers for bereavement or retirement gifts, that kind of thing, that $18,000 is all of that for the entire year for all staff members. And I think it was calculated out to $151 per staff member. So it looks like a lot all in one chunk, but it's one of those things that you can't really divvy out to each individual departments. So we put it all here, and it's all managed by our HR department. Yeah, overall expenses for human resources, $409,000. Taxation. Tax exemptions, $220,000, that's the copter program. A question was asked about the year-to-date on the LIC charges. That is an account for town, for the local improvement charges on town properties. Basically, that is just bad timing that is there. We had to make an adjustment. It was parked there until I could clear it out properly. It's just when I pulled these actuals, it was still parked in there and has since been reallocated for year end. So that's why there's 15,000 in that account and no budget. Contracted services, 83,500. That's mostly our assessors. Total expenses for taxation come to $365,820.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who would we give honorariums to? Would that be things like, Elder Dave when we did the, office, smudging and stuff like that? Would that be kind of what that is, or?
Under the taxation, those are honoraria for the members sitting on the assessment review board when we have assessment review or assessment.
Yes.
Appeals,
Appeals.
thank you, that's the
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. So we have a couple of those this year, not this year, but 2025, we had a couple in 2024. So we have to pay honoraria for the people attending those on our behalf. Any other questions? No, okay, health and safety, fixed expenses of $100,000. Discretionary expenses coming to $55,000. Training and development is $10,000. That's not just for our health and safety officer, that's also for the health and safety training that is available for the entire town. Miscellaneous expenses of $28,000. That's primarily our health and safety week where we bring in speakers and spend an entire week making sure that everybody has mandatory training done. Total expenses for health and safety are $156,190. Town hall, fixed expenses of $128,000. We do have $30,000 in there as interest on long-term debt. That is there, if we wind up getting a debenture for the renovations for new town hall. We've got it earmarked, if it happens. Discretionary expenses of $71,000 for total town hall expenses of $200,000 for total general government expenses of $4,092,000. Moving on to protective services. We've got RCMP grant of $364,000 from the province, $80,000 grant from municipal. That is a shared position with the county of Northern Sunrise County. Under CPO, other fines, that is parking fines, bylaw fines. The bylaw fines, I believe, can actually become a provincial ticket if they are not paid on time. So that is all of the tickets that Danny and his department will be issuing. We're not breaking it out between bylaw and CPO. Not at this point anyways. Moving on, fire, we've got municipal grants of $351,000. Those are our fire services agreements with the MD of Peace and County of Northern Lights. County of Northern Lights also contributes $54,000 to the fire hall, rental of the fire hall on the West Hill. Other protective services, $90,000 in business licenses, for total protective services revenues of $1.2 million. RCMP Administration, we've got a few staff members up at the RCMP detachment, we've got salaries and benefits for them. And contracted services of $2.2 million, that is our RCMP contract. So that is total for our RCMP, the two categories there.
Can I ask a question about that?
Absolutely.
How come it's budgeted to drop by 60,000? For the RCMP?
It varies based on how many members we are being charged for. So depending on how many positions have been filled. I believe we have 12 allotted, but in the past few years, we've only used 9.5 or 10.
Yeah, it also varies, depending on their capital purchases.
Oh,
So the year the body cameras came in, for example, the price shot right up. And so it may depend on what's in their overall plans as well.
okay, thank you.
Just to add in on that, just my understanding of that. Yes, I should turn this thing on. My understanding of that is if we have 12 municipal positions, but like she had said, if only 9 are filled, we only pay for the 9, we don't pay for the full 12.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to bylaw, we've got salaries and benefits of $38,000. Plan for 2026 is to have the bylaw as a seasonal position with CPOs handling the rest of the bylaw issues for the rest of the year. Discretionary expenses, we've got contracted services of $6,500. Those are planned towing charges for when they're necessary. Moving on for the bylaw animals, $46,000 contract, that is a contract that we paid to SPCA for animal control. CPO program, we've got salaries and benefits, software, for total fixed expenses of $365,000. Discretionary expenses totaling $111,850. Vehicle fuel has increased. 2025 budget was put together in fall of 2024 before we had recruited Danny. So it's hard to compare the 2025 and the 2026 budget because the 2025 budget was a plan that administration put together. We're refining the program now that we have our Director of Protective Services.
Plus 2 officers.
Yes, plus we have 2 officers and
Plus
more than one
just the
vehicle.
overall as well, fuel, I'm not.
Yes,
sure if you
absolutely.
mentioned, we've significantly increased our fuel throughout the budget.
Yes.
Based on us the board.
Yes. So, in the presentation that you saw in March, vehicle fuel was 15,000. We bumped it up to 18,000 in this presentation.
So who would, the contracted services under, bylaw animals 221 be, would that be SPCA or?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So we are in 2026, we will be giving them $46,150.
45 is current contract, yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to fire protection admin. We've got fixed costs of $790,000. The majority of that is salaries and benefits and amortization. Discretionary services totaling $98,000. We've got consultant fees of $40,000 in there. That is a fire services review. With some of the changes with our regional partners, I believe Northern Lights is changing their contract, and with some changes in staffing, that's been determined that we want to take a look at how we want the department to look going forward. Yes, Councillor Carr.
Can I ask you a question? You're back on bylaw enforcement. The salaries and benefits, is that, now you indicated we're hiring a position for bylaw enforcement?
Yeah. There'll be a seasonal over the summer, but no,
Okay, well, wouldn't that be hiring a position, even if it's
a
seasonal?
temporary seasonal, yes, over.
Okay, now is that under your emergency hiring? Because we don't have a bylaw position anymore. Is that not correct, Councilor Ford? Did we not decide to get rid of that and go with CPOs?
I do believe
And
so.
then you brought in the last bylaw position under an emergency because we didn't have CPOs. So do we now have a position for a bylaw position?
I typically in the budget have a position for temporary bylaw to help through the summer, yes. To cover for, in this case now, our CPOs have vacation time, so there'll be times 6 weeks minimum, with only one coverage. They're being challenged already with the increase in the encampment services. So I do put
No,
a
I'm not-
provision in there for a temporary or seasonal.
I can appreciate that.
bylaw.
I'm just asking, are you hiring them under the emergency position that you're allowed to hire? Or has there been a new position
There's
created?
no position, new position. I think bylaw is still on the organizational chart as a casual position or a seasonal position, I believe, is still on the organizational chart. And I would just fill that position as a temporary seasonal position like I would any other year.
Okay, thank you.
How long is the temporary seasonal position?
It would typically run, I would try, my preference would be to hire a CJ student. And so typically you look from May to the end of June or early September. Or May to, yeah, early September.
It was the last seasonal position. Oh, no, that was different. Okay.
So
Okay, so I believe we were at fire, oh,
okay, and I just maybe need to add a little comment. If you're looking at salary dollars, again, I need to remind that we allocate salary dollars throughout, especially some key positions, so it's not, you can't just say, for example, you can't total the salaries of bylaw and the salaries of CPO and assume that that's the cost of our 3 officers and any seasonal that we support, because we allocate, other portions.
That wasn't where my question was directed. My question was directed as, where is this position coming from, since we don't have a bylaw position within the town? The last bylaw position was hired on a temporary position, temporary emergency position, because we did not have any CPOs. So I was just wondering, where is this position coming from? I think it was answered. Thank you. Yeah.
okay, fire protection admin, fixed expenses, 795,000. Discretionary of 98,000 for a total of 893. Fire protection operations, totaling 388,000. There again, their vehicle fuel is now 28,800. In the March budget, it was 24,000. The fire hall. Fixed expenses, 154,000. Majority of that is the lease for the fire hall up on the hill. Discretionary expenses, 16,000, for a total of $170,000. And then.
Sorry, it scared. This whole neighbor already talking.
What is that?
Sorry.
Okay. Very focused.
You get back here. The whole thing froze.
Emergency management, fixed expenses of 143,000. Discretionary expenses of 34,000. You can see that the miscellaneous expenses for the 2025 year-to-date actuals is substantially higher. That is the costs we incurred to support the evacuees from the MDF opportunity. we are hoping that the costs will remain zero. But if we do post, we do get reimbursed for those expenses. Should I be knocking on wood, Tanya?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we generally have trouble being reimbursed, or are they usually pretty good? I know the province is a little slow at paying, but do we usually get reimbursed?
The two that I've been involved in.
Yeah.
We've been reimbursed.
Oh, good.
With the province, they go through everything really detailed. Like I had 2-cent adjustments on GST, that detailed.
Wow.
Yeah, took a lot of my time to get reimbursed. MD of Opportunity, they accepted what we had, went through it. It took us, I wanna say 3-4 months after we sent the invoice.
Yeah.
To get reimbursed. The province took us 1.5 years, almost 2 years.
Which is good compared to other communities. We've done-
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, we've done well, because of our experience in doing this. So the finance department has refined their process, as arduous and detailed as it is. We are being reimbursed, probably one of the quickest when I chat with other communities, yeah. But it is upwards of 18 months. Yeah. From the province.
And they don't pay interest.
And and they don't pay regular staff time, they only pay overtime. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we do it because we're good neighbors, not because it's a financially wise move.
This
Great.
$1.1 million went into our community.
No, because that includes staff, that
That's
total.
true. It
That
does.
does include staff time, so you have to back out staff hours, overtime,
Didn't the hotels direct bill though?
not with
Not
this one.
for this one.
So there's an economic benefit to your hotels and restaurants, yes.
And gas and hotels.
Yeah,
and
some of that
everything.
secondary.
Or-
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's a cost to your organization,
Yeah.
yes.
It's a lot of work for a very small staff to take on. Both on directly supporting the evacuees and dealing with the paperwork after that.
Yeah.
So. Other protective services, this is the admin portion of the protective services. We've got fixed costs of $138,000. Discretionary expenses of $2,700, total expenses of $140,000. The total for the protective services is $4.9 million. Moving on to infrastructure and development. We've got a conditional grant of $36,900. That is the energy manager grant. Taxi pass revenue of $68,000. Total revenues for infrastructure and development of $105,000. Expenses, the infrastructure administration, the vast majority of that is amortization. Over 2 million, close to 2.4 million of amortization. Discretionary expenses of $91,000, total administration expenses of $2.9 million. The operations administration, salaries and benefits, and other fixed expenses coming to a total of $175,000. Discretionary expenses of $12,000 for a total of $187,000. The operations, this is, the majority is public works. We've got salaries and benefits of 1.2 million. We've got lease costs of 166. A question was asked, why did it decrease? We have lease crossings with CN Rail that cost us around 16,000 per year. But every now and then, every so often, CN has to do work fixing railway crossings, and we have to pay our portion where they fix those. So there was 2 years worth of project Some was done at the 2024-2025, and the remainder is forecasted to be done in 2026. The budget for 2027 is a substantial decrease for that as the planned road work is done. Street lighting, $708,000. Discretionary expenses come to $540,000. Including vehicle fuel, it was $100,000, but we've pushed that up to $120,000. There again, given what's going on at the fuel pumps and in the world. Total operations expenses coming to $2.8 million. Roads, the bulk of it is discretionary expenses of $758,000. We increased contracted services by $100,000 and contracted equipment by $100,000, recognizing that we spent more in January and February than what we normally do. The facilities, fixed expenses of $339,000, discretionary expenses of $14,990. Again, vehicle fuel was increased by $700. It was $3,500. We bumped it up a little bit. And the taxi pass program costs for 2026 of $246,000. Total infrastructure and development expenses of $7.4 million, bringing the total expenses, $7.4 million, sorry. Public health and social services, revenues including provincial grants for FCSS, municipal grants for FCSS, those we receive under the ICF agreements. We've got a little bit of revenue under the seniors for home support and Meals on Wheels. The FRN, Family Resource Network, Parent Education, and Home Visitation, those are all part of the FRN grants. And for those are provincial grants where the expenses must match the revenues. Otherwise, if there's unspent funds, we have to send it back to the province.
The $500 under donations, what is that? Is that just somebody donating $500 to the
Yeah.
program?
Yeah, well, there's a pantry, a food pantry and a infant diapers, that kind of thing pantry that FRN runs based all on donation. So that would be related to that. They did I'm lost for words tonight. A family angel tree also was the other thing they did, all based on donations. That one was Horizon Credit. So any donations you see would be community financial donations to those specific types of programs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So total revenues for public health and social services coming to $815,000. FCSS administration, fixed expenses of $263,000. Most of that is wages. Discretionary expenses of $13,910 for total FCSS administration of $277,000. Seniors, fixed expenses of $167,000. Discretionary of $43,180, including program costs of $12,000. That's for the seniors fair, seniors week, and other events that are specifically for the seniors. Family program costs of $5,300. Youth and children program costs of $4,400. Community development, little bit for insurance, discretionary expenses of $64,300. The bulk of that is the FCSS grants to organizations. Community development miscellaneous, we've got discretionary expenses of $34,750. That includes the $10,000 grants to organizations. Last year there was a nonprofit emergency support fund for $10,000 that was set up, so we've got that in there. Family Resource Network, fixed expenses of $164,000. Discretionary expenses of $16,810, total expenses of $180,000. The whole FRN contract is up for renewal in 2026. So I believe the budget was based on 6 months of old and 6 months of what we anticipate the new contract is going to look like. So that's where some of the prior year actuals don't necessarily look like they align with what the new budget's going to be.
Is that what would account for the salaries and benefits being lower portion, or is that something different?
That's a portion of it, but there's also possibly some reallocations that.
Yeah, it's just a payroll allocation behind the scenes. Need to move, it's just a GL.
Okay.
On that one, that looks way over. And then there's another item that's way under for actuals, yeah. But the adjustments for 26 are based on what the new budgets are being proposed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Parent education, budget of $122,000 for wages, total fixed expenses coming to $130,000. Discretionary expenses of $19,000, so total parents' education expenses of $150,000. Home visitation, the last of the 3 FRN pieces, fixed expenses of $146,000, discretionary of $23,000, total home visitation of $169,000. And if somebody were to take and add all the expenses together, that would equal the 3 FRN grant revenues, so they zero out in the budget. Cemetery and health services, cemetery expenses of $9,100. Health services of $32,000, that is mostly town support for the Rotary House and for the Physicians Health Attraction and Retention Committee. So total comes to $1.1 million.
I just have one question regarding the cemetery expenses. 2025 budget was 3,100, 2026 is 9,100. How come it jumped so much when year-to-date actuals is only 1165?
2026 budget does include an item for concrete runners. I'm not sure exactly what those are, but it was itemized in the detail. And it is my belief that the intention is to ensure that we are allocating costs properly to the cemetery going forward.
Okay.
We haven't always captured the costs. Supplies are purchased, some is used for the cemetery, it's not always allocated out. So that is one of our projects going forward, is to ensure that we are capturing the costs under the correct cost center.
So thank you.
Moving on to the planning and development, revenues, building permits, $60,000. Previously, we only recorded the 25% portion that we retained. Starting in 2025, we have started capturing 100% and then recording the 75% that we paid to the safety code contractors. So we started doing that in 2025, but only started capturing it in the 2026 budget. So that's where the 2025 year-to-date actuals is higher than budget, and the 2026 budget is higher than 2025 budget. Total planning and development revenues of $71,000. In the March 2nd presentation of this, we had the conditional grant of $115,000 for the NREG grant. We have removed those revenues from this portion of the budget. Planning and development services, fixed expenses of $296,000. Discretionary expenses of $112,000. Including consultant fees of $37,000 for a Corvus report on, regarding offsite levies. And we also have the increase in contracted services, which is the 75% that we paid to the health and.
What was the, for offsite levies, what was that for? 37,000 for a consultant?
It includes funds for the Corvus report. That's the only change from 2025 to 2026 that I saw in the budget. So that change of 17,000 is the additional consultant over the previous year.
So we for our offsite levies, and this happened this year.
It's budgeted for 2026. The report to be.
Yeah.
Other things that go into that GL account would include surveying costs, whenever we need something surveyed. Appraisal costs, if we have to get a piece of land or anything appraised, if we're, slicing off a piece of land for any purposes.
And just to elaborate a little bit more on the Corvus report, is that for them to review our land use bylaw and see if our costs are in relation to other municipalities, or what's that report for?
Yes, I wish, I think it would look at our potential growth projections, because it's gonna take the existing report and refine that existing report to reflect current projections for development and growth. And then costs to service those, and then make a recommendation on what the levy should be. Did I say that?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So update it,
Yes.
so it's current.
How often does that report happen?
I would say in my experience, we would like to do it every 10 years, unless you have rapid growth. You may want to do it then, and I believe it is aged, so yeah, it's not a fun process for us to dig out, so we're not willingly doing it, so it must be time that planning and development said we need to have this done.
Okay.
Councillor Carr has a question.
So will this study impact our offsite levies policy that we just passed?
What we changed most in the policy, I believe, if my understanding is when the payment terms and what can be deferred and the value of what can be deferred. What this should do, should say, this is what the rates should be. They may come in higher or lower, I'm not sure. But it's gonna make recommendations as to what the rates should be to reflect the anticipated growth. So I think, for example, I believe. Tanya, please step in if I'm wrong, but I believe the last report had a really aggressive growth.
Yes.
In it.
Yeah.
Which hasn't happened, and so it's gonna tailor all that back. Scale it, it may say this is what we project without a potential nuclear.
Yeah.
But if you have nuclear, this is what it's gonna look like, because we may want to have to switch our gears. And not wanna have to undertake another Corvus report to service all potential growth, but we need something current now.
So it's not gonna be a rewrite of our offsite levies policy again?
No,
Okay.
we may make a couple recommendations in the policy as they review it, but
Yeah.
it really is to determine the rates that it should be.
And chances are it'll.
Go down because it was so
It
aggressive.
was too aggressive, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Community Development Administration, all amortization for fixed costs of $7,700. Discretionary expenses of $94,000 for a total of $102,000. Economic Development Administration, fixed expenses of $124,000. Discretionary expenses of $201,000. Changes from the March 2nd, we've reduced the contracted services, it was 95,000, we dropped it 40,000. That is, retaining the town portion that they were putting in, for the marketing plan. Advertising was also decreased, it was 80,000, it's now, decreased down to 42,500, 37,000, change. And we have increased program costs by $10,000 for the nuclear engagement, that we are hoping to undertake this year, or planning to undertake this year. Total economic development admin expenses of $326,000. The economic development tourism, again, the marketing plan, removing the NRED grant portion of it. Advertising was decreased by 37,500, retaining the town's contribution. Total planning and development expenses of $899,000. Parks, recreation and culture, revenues, we've got administration revenues, we've got conditional grants, municipal sprinkled throughout. All the municipal grants are part of the ICF agreements, so contributions towards rec admin, the pool, the Baytex Museum, trails, parks. So you will see a conditional grants municipal showing up in a number of line items. The program revenues of 33,000, pool revenues 755,000, water park municipal grants 12,000. Total revenues overall, trails, parks, the multiplex revenues of 918,000, which includes the municipal grants. Arena 212,000, field house 108. Fitness center, that's the lease for the Champions Fitness, I want to say. Museum revenues of 259,000, library 187,000, Athabasca Hall 36,000. Total parks, recreation and culture revenues of 3.8 million. Of that, the operating municipal grants come to 2.5 million. So a large chunk of our parks, recreation and culture is contributions from our partners to provide services to the entire region. Rec and Min, salaries and benefits, amortization totaling 1.6 million. Amortization is over $1 million of that. Discretionary expenses, 526,000, which includes 504,000, which is the contribution to capital that we receive under the ICF agreements. So we receive capital revenue, we put it back into the reserves to pay for capital expenditures. Recreation programs, fixed expenses of 78,000, discretionary expenses of 89,000. A question was asked about the contracted services of $2,000. Those are facilitators that we're bringing in for a couple of programs. Grants to organization, $3,000. Those are community scholarships that we offer, and it includes the Ron Campbell Scholarship, which is new for this year. Pool, fixed expenses of $916,000. The bulk of that is salaries and benefits. Discretionary expenses totaling $290,000 for a total of 1.2 million. Water park expenses of $60,000. Majority of that is water. Discretionary expenses of 21,000 for total expenses of $82,000. Sports fields, fixed expenses of 24,000. There again, majority of that is water. Discretionary expenses of $17,550 for total sports fields expenses of $42,000. Ball fields, 11,000, discretionary expenses, 15,000, total ball fields expenses of 27,000. Parks, fixed expenses of 324,000. Discretionary expenses of 574,000. There again, this is one of the sub-departments that is affected by the increase in fuel. It was 3,600. It has changed by $720. Total expenses for parks of $899,000. Trails, contracted services, 257,000. That includes a section of overlay for the dike. The increase is based on what we actually spent in 2025, plus adding railing in some places where it's necessary for safety reasons. Total trails expenses of $287,000. Ski hill fixed expenses of $120,000. Discretionary expenses of $157,000 for total expenses of $277,000. On to the multiplex. Yes.
I just want to note on the trail item, the expense is based on the per linear cost of last year's overlay project. And the intent is to continue from that point we finished to the next point. So from approximately Fred's Heating towards going north, am I going? Yes, I'm going north towards Kinsman Funland. We're approximately, it's a big chunk. It's a costly chunk though. So unfortunately it is $100,000 more, but you'll see a large portion overlaid is the intent. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Just one question.
Yes.
Is the path as bad there as it is further north? Like, I realize we're working that way, but
Yeah.
Would we be better to start at the far north and work back?
It's sort of potato. We,
Okay.
the full assessment that was done 2024 identified sort of the worst sections. We took the opportunity to do the last year section because of the way the province finished that piece, and that was one of the worst. Sort of the next worst is sort of in the middle, further down. So it felt awkward to kind of be popping back and forth. And every year this progresses, the worst gets worse, and the next worst is getting as worse as the worst. So it's kind of potato. Yeah.
Thank you.
Multiplex common, total fixed expenses of $538,000. Almost half of that is interest on long-term debt. Discretionary expenses of $77,000. There again, we fuel expenses which have increased. They were $6,000, now they're $7,200. The arena, fixed expenses of $462,000. Discretionary expenses of $271 for total arena expenses of $733,000. The field house, fixed expenses of $90,000. Discretionary expenses of $36,000. A question had been asked about the contracted services of $6,600. That is the sport safety inspections. Previously they were done but not separated out. So we're trying to, again, make sure that we account for everything in the proper place. Those are annual inspections that are required.
Of the curtain. And the entire, the curtain mechanism, the cabling, the motor mechanisms, we need to be inspecting and maintaining them manually. And that includes 2 days of lift rental by the company, so it's actually not bad.
The fitness center, fixed expenses of $20,000. Discretionary expenses of $2,300 for total fixed center expenses of $22,700. The museum. Fixed expenses of $275,000. The majority of that is wages. Discretionary expenses of $49,960. Contracted services has gone up, but that is for increased security monitoring. Library fixed expenses of $38,000. Discretionary expenses of $472,000. The bulk of that is the contracted services where we fund the library board. Athabasca Hall, fixed expenses of $40,000, discretionary expenses of $32,000 for total expenses of $72,980. The difference from the previous year of $9,000 for contracted services, those are janitorial services. Just easier after place to get a cleaning service to come in than it is to recruit a staff member to come in on a weekend. The NAR building, fixed expenses of $23,000, discretionary expenses of $33,000 for a total of $57,100. Log cabin, no budget in 2026 because it's no longer there. Total parks, recreation and culture expenses of $7.5 million. So after all of that, we've got the estimated reserve balances. And last time there were some questions about the tax supported reserves. So I beefed it up and included the other equity accounts. So we've got the equity intangible assets, which is the large amount at $67,900. That is basically the value of our tangible capital assets less debentures and loans against it. So it's like the equity in your house. It's equity you have, but it's not easily convertible to cash. We've got the unrestricted surplus, which is basically your checking account. It's money that you have that's available for use for general purposes. And then we've got our tax supported reserves. Those are our savings. So when I presented the budget the last time, I only included the tax supported reserves. But as you can see, when we include the unrestricted surplus and then move the balance of the unrestricted over, the reserve balances really don't change a lot from the start of the year to the end of the year. There is a shift, but not as dramatic as when you only look at the tax supported reserves. I do want to mention that I did include the $800,000 of the committed funding from the Northern Sunrise County on there. Those were not included in the 2025, but it was funding that was committed by Northern Sunrise County towards that project. So even though it wasn't in the budget, I did include it because otherwise it distorted the reserves picture by leaving it out. So that's the updated reserves. Any questions? This was a lot of information to go through at a really fast pace. So.
Anyone have questions?
Mayor Shannon, there was a couple of other questions that were forwarded to myself, but didn't have enough time to put together. So next council meeting, when we bring back the budget seeking adoption, before that, I'll have a little bit of a presentation to include some of those questions and yeah, a few others.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. If there's no questions, I guess that will end it for now. I imagine after thinking about it and dreaming about it tonight, I'll have
nightmares.
Yeah. We'll have questions for the next meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
It's gonna be up till 4 in the morning, reading everything.
Okay, so if we have no more questions, then we'll ask for a motion. Okay, Councillor Bruce.
I would move that council direct administration to bring the draft 2026 operating budget to the next council meeting for consideration.
And all those in favor of that motion? And that is carried. We're gonna move on to reports. Number one is the March 2026 monthly development report with CAO Miller. Do you have anything to highlight?
Not at this time, I don't, Mayor Shannon, thank you.
Okay. Protective Services monthly call report with Director Kress.
Your worship, fellow councillors, as you see for our briefing note for March of 2026, we had 126 files created in that month. Year to date, we're at 336, and right now we have 10 active files as of that date. I had to stop it early due to council. The CPOs are educating the public on the new fines that the province put out. So we've been educating the public on the new fines. As you see on the report there, we had 102 traffic stops. And then as you look at through the whole report, there was only 39 tickets issued and 105 warnings issued out to the public. So we really wanted to educate the public on the new ticketing and the new fines given out. We're approved now through the province for CPEC, so we're in the process of getting that down to the last nitty gritty. Axon equipment has finally arrived and it'll be installed in our vehicles on April 22nd. So we'll have Axon in-car cameras and body cams by then up and running. Working on the MEP for the spring breakup and working very much closely with the RCMP lately. So working very strong, working with them this spring.
Where did that, like working more closely with them than you did in the past?
Yeah, we're trying to help them out on certain calls downtown. They're calling us for accidents now to help them out for traffic control, same as fire. So we're really trying to be engaged with them more and more. So they utilize us a little bit and then we can utilize them.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Good collaboration there.
Yes. If you see my yearly report, we had 102 traffic incidents. Some of that was parking issue due to snow removal. They just put it under traffic because it was vehicles that were in the way. Public complaints were 7, parking was 4, business license 1, RCMP 2, assist other departments, which was public works was 1, general public, that was people just calling in complaints of vehicles causing problems, and then 1 animal control. Year to date is 339 files on the go. Just to let you know that in January, February, and the 1st of March, my department moved 60 vehicles. They run the plates, notified the people, and they got them to move the vehicles, but we ended up towing 20 vehicles. And then the rest that we couldn't get a hold of that were out of province, they all issued fines, and they have 30 days to pay, and if not, then we issue provincial fine to them. And that's my report. Oh, and I do have one here that was brought on the former for Councilor Ford for the emergency calls for the fire department.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so I just wanted to bring that back to you so that you know that in 2025, there was critical calls, was echo calls, was 33. Hazmat calls were like carbon monoxide and that was 3 or 33, sorry, the first one, 3 for hazmat. EMS, that is 15 minutes out, so there was none, was 27, that's Delta calls. And then lift assist were 22. And they do get a grant each year from EMS, AHS help with all their equipment.
Okay. What's a lift assist?
That's if somebody is in an awkward position where they need to get lifted out of a house somewhere, they'll call them to get extra firefighters to lift.
a very big person on it, right?
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
or downstairs or down in other apartments.
Okay, is there any questions? Councilor Ford?
One question and one comment. In my meetings with the RCMP, the relationship that I was told between our CPO program, CPOs and the RCMP is very, very strong. So keep up the good work. My actual question is, I'm like in our budget, we were talking about SPCA and animal control, and I think the number is 45,000 a year. So are you able to explain the animal control? Are you working with SPCA? Or are you going on your own, or is that?
No, so what it is the 45,000 entails, the SPCA are gonna be looking after all the animals, housing all the animals, adopting the animals out, and they're gonna be picking animals up downtown or anywhere in town. We are gonna be doing the enforcement part where people are dogs barking, dogs running at large, aggressive dogs. We're gonna deal with the enforcement side because we have the tools to deal with that. And we're working with them very closely. So they will give us all their information monthly, so we'll be able to bring that forward coming up with each meeting.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you for your, oh, go ahead.
I just had one comment. I was just gonna mention, I've even noticed in my neighborhood, like your guys' presence around town. Even if it's just doing drive-bys, like I think it's meaningful. And even the amount of warnings you guys are giving, you're not simply trying to ticket everyone, which, you know, obviously the residents aren't gonna like. There is a lot of warnings and education and judgment by your team's part. So yeah, keep it up. I'd say it's going well.
Thank you.
Councilor Ford?
Yeah, I had, sorry, you reminded me, I had one more question. So when we talk about visibility,
Yes,
because I know there's three of us out there, right, 3 CPOs out there.
well, 2.5, but.
Well, yeah, so as far as visibility goes, how's that visibility at like 2 or 3 in the morning? Are
We don't,
what
no. So what we're
kind
doing,
of, like, I don't
Yeah.
wanna
Nope.
get into specifics, but a kind of a general time frame.
we're usually between 8 in the morning to 11, 12 o'clock at night through the winter here right now. Through the summer, it'll generate a little further into like 1 in the morning, but from 1 in the morning to then, the RCMP is patrolling in town.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, does someone wanna, oh no, I guess we don't do that yet.
Sorry, excuse me.
Oh, go ahead.
I have a question, but it's with regards to section 1, not 2. I was not on this when we discussed them, like 9.1.
Yeah, go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah, so like here it says 10 development permit applications received year to date and 21 development permits received year to date. Usually it should like we may get more development permit applications than building development application, but I see that we have more building development permits than development permit because it's when you get a development permit that it will decide whether you need a building permit or not the other way. So I would expect to have more DP than PP.
Oh, I understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's for development. It's not for me, but I understand what he's saying. He said,
Yeah, I got lost there.
Yeah,
so
I'm not sure.
So,
Like,
sorry, 10 development permits and 21 building permits here today.
sure.
I do believe if I can speak to some of it,
Yeah.
I believe the development
Building
I believe the development permit for Peace River Adventures Campground was approved in 2025. But they had 10 separate building permits for one for each cabin. So that would explain some, good catch though, I'm glad you're. And, but so that would account for some, and there probably or likely is maybe a few others. Perhaps something has come through from the West Hill development, I'm not sure, again, which was approved in development permit searches, or building permits are just coming.
Thank you.
If that helps.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions for Director Kress, we'll move on to Peace River Community Services Board meeting minutes. Do you have anything to highlight from there, Councillor Babalola?
No.
Okay, moving on to number 4, Peace Regional Mental Health Task Force. Councillor Deuce, do you have anything to add to that?
Nothing in particular other than what we spoke about in closed session. They have submitted some really good notes in the minutes, so I think if anybody has any questions for me, ask away, otherwise nothing in addition to add.
No questions? Okay, we'll move on to number 5, the Emergency Advisory Committee meeting draft minutes. Pretty. So if there's no other questions on that section, I'll be looking for a motion, and Councillor Ford, you can go ahead.
Move to, accept the reports 9-1 through 9-5 for information.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Number 10, for information, we have the council communications package. Any questions out of there? Any? Okay, seeing none, can someone put a motion on the floor for that? Okay, Councillor Babalola.
Move that council accept item 10.1 for information.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. And now I'll be looking for a motion to go into closed.
Great. 10-minute break.
Okay, we're going to close. Jeff Forsyth, Councillor Forsyth will move us into closed at 7:55. This will be the end of our live stream portion of the meeting. We'll see you in the next meeting.
Where are you doing, did you do a vote?
Good way to close.
All those in favor of going to closed, and that is carried.